the Crafty Boys, where we drink beer, talk about bullshit, and stream it live for your entertainment.
Or our
We've been doing
entertainment, because nobody's
our
watching
entertainment,
anyway.
because who gives a shit?
That's right.
So welcome.
It's
We have
Friday
lots of things
night.
to talk
It's
about
time
today.
to party.
It's Friday, exactly. Locke, we're going to start with you because you're out in the East part of the world. What beer are you drinking this evening?
Okay, this evening I am drinking Sada City's Horchata White Milk Stout. Check it out.
Sawdust City.
It looks like beer. For
It
a stout,
is beer.
yeah, for a stout, it's looking very sort of yellowy.
Yeah, it's like very light. It's an extremely light colored stout.
What's the stout called? Sorry?
Spicy and invigorating. Horchata is a traditional Mexican rice milk drink. Using this quintessential recipe as a jumping off point, our horchata white milk stout is flavored with cinnamon and vanilla, along with an added dose of lactose sugar. We've also employed a specific mash profile to help impart a rich, creamy mouthfeel. These spices and protein-heavy mash bill help attain a look and feel that is this refreshing classic drink. Now, I drink this at Sawdust City in their tap room all the time. And one of the reasons I do is because if you've got to drive, it's 3.5%, and so works that way. The other thing is that it's often served with cinnamon. I was looking to see if I had ground cinnamon. I don't. I've got cinnamon sticks, which aren't going to do the trick. So we'll leave the cinnamon alone, but this is a very tasty beverage.
Excellent.
I can't get over the fact that it's
like
really? Who knew?
What's that? Yeah, with the cinnamon.
Did you hear that, Alan?
No, I didn't.
Okay, sorry. He
Squelched a little bit.
He squelched. He definitely squelched a bit. Julian says hello. Hello, sir, on the rock.
Hello, Julian.
Now, the beer that Alan and I have is actually...
We not only have matching shirts.
This is true.
We have matching beers.
So tonight we're going to be drinking from Yellow Dog Brewing. Is called Weird Science Dip Hop IPA. I don't have my glasses, so you're going to have to read the stuff on the can.
Oh, well, a second here. Because I'm getting old. We like to get a little experimental with our beer sometimes. Maybe even a little weird. Weird Science Dip Hop IPA is brewed with Nelson Sauvin, Citra, and Ricow hops that were scientifically added before the fermentation for maximum flavor. This hazy IPA is a science experiment in process and in flavor. So grab a 4-pack for some tasty research.
Well, I don't mind that at all. And I'm going to pour... Oh, there we go. So the reason I picked this one up is that I was a little shocked to see Yellow Dog doing that thing that not back 40. Oh my lord. What is that other brewery? What's the brewery we drank last week?
Backcountry.
Backcountry, thank you. Where Backcountry is basically some serious nerd stuff. And essentially I just wanted to share a story here of how amazing this is, because back in the day, and I have a photograph of what I am talking about somewhere, but a long time ago, back when in whenever Weird Science came out, I was in like grade 6, somewhere there, maybe 5, and somebody, our teacher said, hey, let's send letters of protest about nuclear weapons to Ottawa. So my first inclination, and Locke, I think you were there to do this as well. We had to send something. It was just like a letter or whatever. I actually drew the Weird Science logo and put above it nuclear weapons
that.
are.
I totally remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I still have that piece of paper somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but I still have it because, and to give people an understanding of just exactly what I'm talking about, Weird Science was one of those films back in the day by John Hughes,
Mm.
where you would wear a bra on your head to basically create. You basically wanted to create a female from a photograph of your choosing. So Kelly LeBrock, of course, being in this film, these two nerds created her by writing software to, I don't know, connect to the dial-up internet at the time, or dial-up something. But it definitely was an experience to see that film probably 150 times, including watching Bill Paxton being turned into a
Jabba
pile
the
of
Hutt,
shit.
basically.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's Bill Paxton for everybody. And this is actually something I didn't even realize. I have no memory of this at all. But apparently it was turned into a TV show.
What? When?
Yeah. I did. Yeah, so the movie came out in 85. And apparently from 94 to 97, there was a show.
For 3 years? How did we not
Weird
know
Science.
this?
I have no idea. I haven't a clue. Just this kills me that this actually happened for some reason. Like almost a decade later.
That
So
is very
yeah,
crazy.
who
And the thing
knew?
is, it lasted for 3 years, so it must have been halfway decent.
This is, by the way,
But
speaking
here,
of the,
but the other thing that's confusing me about all of this is that it's effectively like it's like Gen X liver treats, but somehow I've never heard of this. Like,
I
like
all I did was Google Weird
Where
Science,
was it
and that's what I found. Haven't a clue. It's so bizarre that it is even a thing.
I wonder.
But it's
why would that be released in the 90s?
Well, there was
didn't they make
that
a
period
Ferris
where they
Bueller TV series.
Yeah,
in the
Ferris
90s?
Bueller. Let me look.
I mean, but I guess what I'm saying is it's sort of like, okay, like we had some success with the film. Let's make a TV series, like a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, not a decade later.
Ferris
I mean?
Ferris Bueller had a TV show from 1990
I recall
to
the
1991.
90s.
Yeah.
The 80s were at their maximum uncool during the 90s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So why would you pick them to anyway?
I don't know.
I think probably because it was a John Hughes property. And maybe they had exactly. Maybe they had a deal where they got to select a bunch of his films and then convert them into a nightmare for TV. None of them. Well, I was going to say none of them. The Ferris Bueller one died very quickly. It died. It only made like 13 episodes. But the Weird Science having 3 seasons. This means I have to watch the first episode or 2. Maybe it was actually good. Because the film itself is like this sort of one-off, a couple of nerds learn about love through this creating a.
I seem to remember in the 90s as well, early 90s, that there was a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure series.
There was.
We're kind of ignoring the beer here. We haven't really talked about the beer, but.
Well, tell me what you think of this beer that we're drinking.
Okay, this beer is really, really good, really refreshing. It's not citrusy like the beer that we had last week from Backcountry. At least not as citrusy. This one definitely has some hot bite to it. I'm just looking for an IBU, which I'm not seeing. No, I don't. Oh, yeah, sorry. 40 IBU, which is relatively high. Okay. I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding it's not really quaffable, I'm going to say, but not exactly a sipping beer either. Fairly decent head, nice lacing, good color. It's opaque. Very, very enjoyable. I don't know what else to say about it. Shane.
Well, there's not much to say about it because it's not. I mean, it's great. It's fine. It's beer and it smells great. It tastes okay. But I mean, there's nothing new going on in my palate here. So
There's nothing
I mean,
that sets
it's
it apart
fine.
from anything else.
By the way, the
Can you describe it in terms of how is it? Is it sweet or is it dry?
Sweet.
No, okay. I was going to say dry.
Really? I'm not finding it dry at all. I'm finding it just sweet. Just
Okay.
a little bit sweet, not a whole lot. Just a little.
All right.
By the way, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures was a live action for a very short period of time and then became an animated series for anyone who gives a shit. But this moves me into wanting to talk about this because we don't drink this, and this is not really something that I would recommend anybody else drink. But according to the news yesterday, the Bud Light has been dethroned by a top selling beer brand in the U.S. after a boycott. Now I forgot that there was a boycott of Bud Light and a couple other ones I think as well for the whole marketing. But something called Modelo Especial,
Which is interesting because Modelo is actually owned by Anheuser-Busch. So
well, there you go.
So it's the same company. It kind of speaks to the I don't know, I don't want to disparage anybody, but it speaks to the intelligence of the U.S. buying population, I think, in my estimation.
Well, I mean, it's a good point because here's the thing. We don't drink this. I don't drink this ever. I don't think I've ever had Bud Light.
Never.
But I know that I've had like Canadian, and maybe I've had a Budweiser from here or there, but I don't think I've ever. Yeah,
Budweiser is decent.
I have not watched the trendy commercial. Sorry.
Budweiser is decent on a hot summer day if you're at a work party, like at somebody's house, redoing the roof or something like that, and like you take a break or you're finished for the day and the whole group is sitting around and everything, and they have like a case of Budweiser. It can be good in that situation. I wouldn't recommend going out and getting it on a regular basis or anything. But for cheap beer, as a social thing, yeah.
Locke, have you ever had Bud Light?
I've had Bud Light, yeah.
And
I mean, it is identical in pretty much every respect to every other, mass light beer out there. So it's like arguing, between Coke and Pepsi, in that sense. I don't know. Put it this way, like I've had nights where it's sort of like I felt gratitude to find, hey, look, there's a couple of Bud Lights sitting here. I can crack these. Compared to no beer, Bud Light is beer. You know what I mean?
Okay, now that is an argument I can get behind.
Yes.
All right, I fully understand that. Now, of course, our peanut gallery here is talking
If I were to
about.
point to a Budweiser product I actually admire, it would be Czechvar.
Okay. So basically, it sounds like, I mean, we're really late to the game on this because I think this happened a month ago, 2 months ago. The whole
Probably a month.
there were transvestites or something, or drag queens in an ad for Budweiser or for
I don't think. I mean, and Julian seems to know more about this than we do. I don't think it was
Yeah,
an
so
ad. It was
they
they had
supported
done sort of like a sponsorship partnership with
right.
a TikTok influencer,
Right, that's what it was.
and
Right, and the TikTok influencer
Okay. So if
is
you're
trans.
saying
So
we should all be outraged about a beer company using a TikTok influencer, I agree, because TikTok influencers are obviously
actually,
obviously ridiculous. Um,
this
I don't know. I mean,
particular
like,
influencer was featured in a commercial. I think it's what it
oh
was.
really? Oh okay.
Oh yeah, here we go. Dylan
like that's
Mulvaney. Yeah, there we go.
as careers go, as jobs of of the various sort of national treasures that we need to preserve. God help us. Like what when we get to a point where there are people putting influencer on their tax statements, you wonder what the fuck, right?
Well,
But,
you know, it's
but
really
at the same time, does it really like if this person over here, no matter what they choose to do with their life, drinks Bud Light? How should that affect you as a consumer on your
well, I
choices
mean,
whether or not to drink it? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. It's sort of like I'm looking at a situation where it's like, so I don't know what to do because this busload of I don't know bicycles. This busload of bicycles ran into a church and caught fire. And I'm thinking to myself, well, oh no, what happened? Did they all burn? I fucking don't care. You know what I mean?
well, this is the thing: is that I don't here. I mean, here, the reality is, I don't think anyone cares as much as people who are grumpy that they're trans people exist, and if
Who
that
cares
makes them
about whether
evil,
they're trans? I'm talking about the fact that they're influencers.
well,
Okay,
okay. Well, right, of course.
So Julian's last comment here,
Like trans, not trans. I mean, that shit's been around for fucking ever. Like there are ancient Greek statues of hermaphrodites.
Well, exactly, and here's
You
so
should
anyway,
see
you're
some of
gonna
the
say,
shit
Alan.
they get up to on the pottery.
So if you could just put up Julian's last comment, just so everybody can see it. So yes, I agree here. I think Bud Light totally misread their audience, and I can't remember what her name, the VP of marketing or something. She was kind of high up in the marketing thing. She actually said that they're trying to move Bud Light away from being the frat boy beer and sort of move it more towards the way that Gen Z would want something to go. Yeah, exactly, Julian. This is a redneck beer.
Why would you do that?
And
Gen Z virtually don't exist. They're almost as small as we are.
the which?
Gen Z?
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's admirable that they give a shit what Gen Z think, but Gen Z have the same problem that Gen X do, which is to say that there aren't a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, my
compared
argument
to-
is that Bud Light, even if no matter what their moral values are, isn't going to be appealing to that segment of the population, which is trying to be more healthy, which isn't drinking alcohol. And if they do drink alcohol, they're going to drink like craft beer. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to change their image into being sort of like more urban rather than being country. And the thing is, it is a country beer. It's the one that sort of like the rednecks, for lack of a better
here,
term,
this actually spoke volumes to me just a little while ago, like a week or so ago, is that this is a meme where the film Captain Roberts or Phillips or whatever it is was I think a oil tanker that was taken over for a while by Somali pirates, And anyway, so this is basically what it says. Corporations on June 1st. Look at me, I am gay now. Where they're showing their support uh, for gay rights and trans rights and all this sort of thing, but they are, like you were pointing out, the exactly this is yeah, exactly, because if you're just suddenly giving you're following the talking points of the date of the year. So June is now
It's pandering to what you think the audience wants. Bud
exactly.
Light
It's lazy.
misread what their audience wants.
Exactly.
And I kind of liken it to say the soap company Dove. They've been putting out tons of ads about, they've been flaunting beauty products for years and years and years, trying to make people look like thin models. They always use thin models in all their advertising. Now, because the narrative is changing, Dove is changing their advertising, where they're using people of all different sizes and stuff. As well they should, but I wonder if that's genuine. Like, does Dove actually believe that, or are they just pandering to what they think their audience wants to hear?
Oh, exactly. So it's kind of sad, because I call it lazy, because there's all kinds of things like,
it's kind of slacktivism.
It's weird as well, because people want corporations to suddenly have an opinion about different situations. Slavery, modern slavery. Like, what is it? The phrase from a Bo Burnham comedy special was, Bugles, what is your thoughts? Why have you not told us about your thoughts on human slavery? There's all these sorts of weird sort of things where I'm going to pick on younger generations want corporations to have an opinion about everything, like the whole Disney Florida gay rights bill thing. Like, they have these expectations that are high, and I don't know if I care if a corporation, as long as they're not murdering babies and they're creating a product that doesn't annihilate the planet, then I as an individual don't really care if they are up on the rights of, I don't know, baboons in Florida. Like, I don't.
Here's something.
Or alligator baboons. I meant alligators, but anyway, there you go.
Here's something that might make a difference. Is this a public company or a privately held company? Right. I mean, a privately held company. They should be able to do whatever the fuck they want.
Anheuser-Busch
public company?
Is public or private?
I would expect it's public, wouldn't it be? But I don't know. So. I haven't actually looked to find out. Anheuser-Busch, I would think, they've got to be a public company.
I don't have.
They're not publicly traded. I don't have time to watch TikTok. Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is, if it's a publicly traded company, I guess the shareholders should have some say.
Now, if the shareholders,
should anybody else besides the shareholders have some say?
Well, the shareholders, they hire an executive director or CEO to manage all that stuff on their behalf, right? So, I mean, they have to hire the management team that's going to handle all of the marketing. Right? Right. So, I mean, it doesn't, they're not handling all day-to-day operations.
Well, the investors certainly aren't handling. In fact, they're very, very usually hands off until you get an activist investor. But the point being, activist investors aside, and by activist I don't mean in a political sense. I mean in a I want the company to do this sense, because I think I have a better idea than the management does as to how to best make profit, right? And that is one of the questions about corporations, is whether there should be motives which could, enter into discussions as to what the best action, best practice, best way forward would be, other than profit. The shareholders are supposed to care about profit and profit alone. If the shareholders decide that they don't mind if there are some other, other agendas involved, then they should be aware of them at very least. That just full disclosure, right? But so
I meant alligators.
Traditionally, this was all controlled by the church, and all of corporate existence began with the joint stock company, which was an invention basically when the Americas were properly accessible. What the Pope did was he split it up so that you've got Portugal has everything to the east because they're further west. Because we're difficult.
No.
Why do they do that? And then Spain gets everything to the west because they're further east. Sensible, right? Sounds fair. So but that's the way it was split up. As soon as the Dutch decided that they thought that they had a right to separate from Spain and yet still continue to trade with North America, they were considered interlopers. Same thing with Britain. When Britain decided, England initially, because it was the English East India Company, when they created their East India Company in advance of the Dutch, actually they funded the Dutch one, frankly. But when the English East India Company was formed, that was the beginning of the joint stock company, the corporation model. And what's interesting about it is the argument as to why they should be allowed to do what they're doing is because they were Protestant. And that was a Catholic decision, right? Protestantism and the corporation dovetail in history in that weird kind of way. And as late as the Hastings trial, there was still the idea that ultimately corporate businesses ultimately have to be promoting the church. Otherwise, why do we allow them to exist? And that was at the beginning of the 19th century.
But getting back to the Bud Light thing for a sec.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
But you see how this is like.
Yeah. So one thing that
we're talking about corporate governance, right?
Yeah. So one thing that people have been saying is in regards to Bud Light, go woke, go broke.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what the American public is saying. It's like if you're a part of social change, then we're going to make sure that you go broke. But hasn't social change always been a thing? Like, I mean, under the terms of being woke, wasn't like the original Star Trek a show that's revered today? Wasn't that woke? Wasn't Malcolm X woke? Wasn't oh my God. I Have a Dream.
I'm sure it was woke, whatever the fuck it was, dude.
Abraham Lincoln, wasn't he woke? I mean,
well, I don't know. He did it before winning the Civil War. One of his thoughts was that, maybe we could round up the blacks and send them back to Africa.
Okay, but I mean,
it did get floated. Okay,
but for that time, wouldn't that have been considered remarkably
pretty woke? Yeah.
What I'm saying is that there have been quote unquote woke ideas since the beginning of time. It's just change. It's evolution.
It's just a shitty
and I
catch name for it that we have to put up with right now until it passes. which
Yes.
it inevitably will. But God,
Oh,
let
yeah.
it pass quickly.
But in 50 years from now, people are going to look back on the whole Bud Light thing and say, "Wow, how backwards were those people who boycotted
Who
a
use
company
words like
over?"
woke?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Between
I
being
think it's
enlightened
really
and being
weird.
woke, I'll be enlightened. Thank you very much.
Mm,
Yeah.
enlightened. I mean, the word woke is conservative.
It's an American word.
Well, it's an American word, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of like
They're
co-opted.
not very good with their words down there.
No, but it's been co-opted
Obama,
by
he was
right-wing
articulate.
governments around the world to describe left-leaning organizations and people who are okay with social change. Like, isn't social change something that always happens? Isn't this constant thing that's
Well,
always
yes,
in motion?
yeah. I find society's constantly changing for the worse, don't you?
Well, maybe in some ways for the better.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, like, it's a lot more convenient now to watch the world die on our behalf. But I mean, like 250 years ago, we were too busy surviving to really reflect on whether we were killing the world or not.
Well, I think the world was.
So we've traded one problem for another. Have we done it in a quality way? I sort of don't know.
Back then, the world was a bit bigger. We didn't have the travel, the ease of travel that we have now. We didn't have the intermixing of different nationalities and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't as common. Now it is. And we need to learn how to live together.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, no, I mean, and you'd think that people would get that point, but it's so rare that they do.
Do you think that we ever will? Do you think the world is doomed?
Well, I think once Wild Stallions gets their crap together and puts out an album.
Why did I know that you were going to do that?
Unite the planets and provide meaningful conversation between household pets and.
That's awesome.
Bowling scores are way up. Mini golf scores are way down. Sorry.
Moving on, because we're never going to solve the universe today. But let's talk about this because
a two-parter.
That's at least a two-part episode.
Yeah.
But here you go. So this is what we were talking about before the show.
Yeah.
7-Eleven liquor licenses are now available at nearly all locations. However, two things: the beer is locked up. You actually have to get a staff member to do the opening of the case. And then, I hope they have a picture of it, but maybe not. Yeah, here you go. This is the demonstration of, they've basically created this little patio area inside the thing. And you have to consume the beer in the 7-Eleven.
In that little paddock?
Mm-hmm.
Who would That's pretty good.
It is. I don't even know how to even. I don't. First of all, you have to have it opened by a staff member. Second of all, you have to drink it while you're there, and you're still in a 7-Eleven. I don't think I could do it. I don't.
No.
I don't understand how they've created mini beer gardens in. So apparently there's. So far there's only two. There's.
What I want to know is whether you're allowed to shotgun, or whether they can stop you from shotgunning a beer.
I believe that there's a limit of 2 per person. I think is also a thing.
Yeah, limit of 2, but hold on. Let me get in position. Yeah, can you open it for me now? Thank you.
I can tell you, if I was drinking beer in a 7-Eleven and I had to stay inside the 7-Eleven, shotgunning is the only way I'd consume it. Get me the hell out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's it's the strangest thing. Like you be I don't know. I don't get how they think this is. I mean, granted, I can't speak for the licensing system in Ontario, but it is kind of weird that you can't buy it and leave. I'm not sure what the rule is about trying to get around. Like, what are they trying to get around something, or are they limited in their licensing? I imagine that's
I
probably
have
what it
no
is.
idea. It's I know in Ontario it's deeply connected with um, sort of backroom dealings and provincial statutory monopolies, and that kind of shit. Like
But I kind of wonder,
Ontario is.
are the staff people inside of a 7-Eleven going to be equipped to like stop somebody from leaving after they've purchased and had the beer opened? Like, what are you going to do? Like,
Well,
Yeah,
that is
it's a good point.
this. I mean, here's the thing. The one thing that I think most, and this is not just the thing going on here at 7-Eleven Ontario, is that a lot of the large corporations are making these decisions without really considering the fact that you most likely for quite some time will have like I don't know, a 17-year-old working the cash register at a 7-Eleven, and yeah, this comes up again. Too bad Doug Ford can't get the $1 beer in 7-Eleven. But that's the thing, right? Is that there's all these situations where they're making these choices, which are fine to make, but there's that one component that's always missing, where it's like you have people who are probably, I mean, potentially some people working the cash register that are not even old enough to drink in Ontario, and it's their summer job working at a 7-Eleven to save up a little money to, I don't know, do whatever you do when you're 17. I was going to say buy CDs, but that's definitely not what's going on there. But they just seem to be missing the boat on that. You're putting all this responsibility on an issue that is a problem for everybody who runs a bar. And you have all of these things going on in bars that are not
so let me ask you this.
Awesome.
If you're in Ontario and you have a choice of if you have to drink a beer inside of an establishment, would you go to 7-Eleven and stand in that little cage for like
totally not
5 minutes while you drink that beer? Or would you pay the extra buck to go to a bar somewhere with a jukebox and some ambiance and music playing that isn't music, but actual, tunes that you want to hear, plus, probably hot waitresses walking around.
All three of us.
Go?
Okay.
Yes.
Just for a moment, let's all pretend we're drinking beer at 7-Eleven. Oh yeah, Julian is like, yeah, there's probably no tipping at 7-Eleven. Okay, so ready, here we go. Okay, we're all at 7-Eleven. Let's drink some beer.
Hey, you catch the Leafs last night?
I did. It was a great game. I do believe that the puck was hit with sticks, and players were happy about it.
Get me the hell out of here. And scene.
What's really funny is that for some reason it popped into my mind when I first was hearing about this on the news last night that there used to be 24-hour Home Depots in Vancouver. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but Home Depot was open for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they stopped doing that when a bunch of dudes just walked in, like 2 or 3 nights in a row, grabbed really expensive equipment, and walked out. And the staff said, "Hey, don't do that." And apparently, according to what was in the news at the time, the people responded, "You can try and stop me, but I will beat you with a hammer." So they took the equipment and left. And within like a couple of weeks of that happening, because it happened like a few times in a single week, they stopped being open 24 hours. And I'm trying to think of, a 20-year-old staff person at 2 in the morning at a 7-Eleven if it's open 24 hours, assuming. And they go up, they break the lock, they take a bunch of beer, and they're like about to leave. And the staff member's like, "Excuse me, sir, you have to pay for that." And then somebody says, "I will beat you with a hammer." How long do you think 7-Eleven would continue to sell beer?
Probably not long. But I was actually, this is interesting because I was reading an article today that down in the States somewhere, a couple of Lululemon employees were fired for trying to stop people from stealing merchandise from their store. And basically, Lululemon has a policy in place, and actually they're not the only one. A lot of companies have policies in place that where if there is a theft happening, the staff are not allowed to intervene, basically because you never know what these people are going to do, and you're putting yourself, other staff, and potentially customers in harm's way. And what these companies are saying is that no amount of merchandise is worth the life
that amount of
a staff member or a customer.
Yeah.
So here it looks like Atlanta down in Atlanta, Georgia. They basically confronting thieves at their store. Who knew?
So if I want Lululemon stuff, like basically
just walk in, grab it, walk out, you're good.
As long as there's no cops around and they don't get a look at your face or anything on the camera.
Yeah, that won't work in my case. I think I have other distinguishing features, so I think I'll leave that one alone.
The controversy is that the staff only phoned the police.
So according to the article I read and an interview with the representative from Lululemon, they said that's actually not the case. It's not that they only phoned the police. It's that they tried to interfere with the theft. They tried to intervene physically.
Huh. When you say tried to intervene, like how did they try to intervene?
Like by trying to, I don't know, get the stuff back or to stop them from leaving the store or.
Okay.
I mean,
you never know. I mean, they could have a knife. They could have a gun. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if were I the owners of that, I might have a policy like that because, look, there's no point in getting stabbed over a pair of pants. So, Julian, are you really bored on The Rock, man? You're like really on all of the things we're talking about tonight. Yeah. And I'm like, I haven't heard of this at all. And Julian's like, well, yeah, the interview said the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when did you, wow. You go renovate your house.
Well, let me ask you guys something. If you were working in a Lululemon, I mean, I know the three of us never would be, but if we were working in a Lululemon for probably minimum wage, selling yoga pants and all that kind of stuff, if somebody tried to steal stuff, would you try to stop them for your minimum wage job? Like,
no,
would you put
I probably
put your life in harm's way over minimum wage?
I'd be like, hey, you need some help? You want a bag? I could totally help you out there. Actually, you know what? Take some socks, too. They're pretty good. Yeah, here you go. You need some of that pine-scented stuff? Here, take that. Sorry, Locke?
It's too late now. I've careered up, but that would have been a fucking good idea. Work at a Lululemon. You want to meet hot chicks. That would be a good idea.
I can tell you this. Even when we were young, they wouldn't have hired me. Maybe they would have hired Locke.
They would hire Locke.
They'd hire Locke. They
Locke
wouldn't
would
hire
for
me.
that. Yeah.
And Shane, I'm sorry to say this to
this.
you, but they wouldn't hire you.
No, because I would never apply.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
had
if you did
I
apply,
applied,
they would never hire you.
I would like to apply for management, please. Then I could lord over all of the hot chicks that Locke talks about. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess ultimately, yeah, it's true. I mean, if you walk out with $1 million, I mean, would the same thing apply?
It's not hard to walk out with $1 million worth of Lululemon stuff.
No. I'm saying, what if I did the same thing to like a car dealership, where I got into like a Lamborghini and started driving out of the store and being like, you can stop me, but I'm going to run you down first. So
I think that's why generally, if you take one of those things out for like a test drive, you have to sign a bunch of stuff and give like,
or take the thing for a drive and say, hey, I want to practice parallel parking. You park, you get out, you walk around the car, grab the door, open it up, beat the crap out of the guy, toss him out, and then drive off. I'm just saying. I'm trying to find out where the line is. Where's the money line to a pair of pants versus a Lamborghini?
Basically, everything is fair game as long as you don't get caught.
So, Betty, you should have stopped that guy from stealing that Lamborghini. We give you firearms training for a reason. You weren't even packing? What the hell? I don't know. I just... I mean, I agree. It's totally not worth employees getting beat up over that kind of stuff. But I just have to say that in the case of Home Depot, you shouldn't have been open 24 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, Doc?
It's interesting to think that like plane hijackings pretty much died with 9/11.
You became woke?
Well, I think it's just harder to do when they seal off the pilot room. You know what I mean?
True.
It's true. He's not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, how do you seal up the cockpit in a Lululemon store? What would be the equivalent?
Well, that would probably be the office managers.
Like cigarettes and like razors and things like that from for shaving and stuff.
If you're gonna have merchandise out for the customers, it's going to be fair game. And people are
so basically we should be liquor stores before when you had to like order stuff, and then they like went back and they would come out of that conveyor belt thing. Like,
wait a minute though. Doesn't Lululemon have those like things that the Magno tags that they stick in with that have the ink that sprays everywhere? If they
maybe
do they not have those?
I don't actually. I sadly was in a Lululemon not too long ago, a couple of weeks back, because my sister wanted to buy some.
For you.
And I actually lasted about 2 or 3 minutes, and then luckily my friend Keith was there, and we were like, "You want to go to the toy store?" Like, yeah, let's go to the toy store and look at Lego. Fuck this other store. But the amount of time that I was there, I mean, nothing was tagged. Like, it was not tagged with the things you're talking about.
Okay.
So.
Right. All right.
Yeah, it was like any other store. A lot of stores you just can pick it up, look at it and whatnot. So yeah,
you know what the answer to theft is? Consumers distributing. We need to bring back every store should operate like consumers distributing. Now, for people who don't remember what consumers distributing is,
like a magazine order thing.
Yeah. So basically, you go.
Isn't that what Amazon is?
And they have like magazines with like an order card and pencil. And then you choose what you want to look at. You fill out the card, take it up to the counter. They go in the back and get it for you so you can look at it and decide whether or not you want to buy it. If you want to buy it, then you pay for it and you walk out. If you don't, they take it back and they go put it back in the back.
Consumers distributing. I didn't realize this actually closed in 1996. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, it closed a long time ago.
I remember this magazine.
It was maybe a bit before its time. where I think prices there were a little bit cheaper than everywhere else because they didn't have to pay so much in overhead. They didn't have to pay for displays and all that kind of stuff. They just kept everything like in the warehouse in the back, and the staff went and got it and brought it out to you. So there's probably a little bit more cost in staffing and that kind of thing for like warehouse workers in the back. But I mean, you don't have to pay for a display. You don't have to pay for the floor space that you need to display the stuff. It was actually kind of a brilliant way to do business.
Yeah, well, I mean, Amazon.
Yeah, no, that
as a bookseller started in '94, so they had like a 2-year overlap, and it's too bad Consumers Distributing didn't sort of watch what Amazon was doing. Granted, they were only selling books up until like 2000 or something, so
yeah,
it wasn't.
I don't really know what caused Consumers Distributing to go.
Oh, I don't know either.
business
I'd have to look it up, but.
you know.
But just from that perspective, they had the infrastructure that Amazon has, or would have had, like in 2005, 2006, somewhere there.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's too bad because Amazon could use some competition, to be honest. But
Consumers was just Canadian, right?
True, but still, they could have gone international. They were publicly traded for the last section of their life too. So from like 90, no, sorry. I read just 2 seconds ago that they had started publicly traded in 1969, so they were public for a while. Or no, who cares? They're gone. But I really wish that that Amazon had competition. That's all. I'm just kind of lamenting that, but I'm out of beer now. My beer's all gone.
Yeah, same here.
On that note, boys and girls. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you want to come drink beer with us, please let us know. And if you are at all interested, Locke will be doing a striptease at the end of next week's episode. So be here for that. I better load up the William Tell overture. Hang on. But anyway, we'll see you all next week. Friday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard or daylight, whatever the hell. But 7 o'clock Fridays because, we're getting old and we can't do Wednesdays anymore. It's too late for us. We need our sleep.
And
So
our
there you
prune
go.
mush.
And our prune
Gotta
mush,
stay
exactly.
regular.
A warrior's mush. But if you have any beer suggestions, do let us know. We have an email. We're on Twitter, all that kind of fun stuff. And, I lost words. There are no more words. All right, we'll see you all guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye!